Hey everybody, I'm thrilled to share with all of you today that I am on our own farm here in West Central Illinois. So my wife Lisa and the kids and I have worked very hard and saved for a very long time to try and make this happen. We were finally able to pull it off last winter. So today I'm going to give you a quick look at the place, give you guys a quick tour. I'll talk a little bit about all the work that's been gone into it, as well as some of the information around why I chose this farm. So when you finally get to the point where you can afford to buy your first piece of hunting property, there's a lot of things to think about. So I'd like to share with you guys a little bit of the detail that I kind of thought through when it was time for us to pull it off. And hopefully you guys can learn something from that. So I'm going to head over to the first food plot and I will see you guys over there. So up here at the first food plot location, and one of the things about this spot right here, I think it's one of those spots a lot of people would overlook, but essentially directly to the west of this spot, we've got a ridge. So this is the first bluff wall that comes up off of the river valley, and that's what the majority of our property is. And this spot's right behind the barn, but there's so many deer in here. The first thing I did when I got in here early last winter was put a camera up. And I just had a tremendous amount of deer navigating this whole area, even though it was so close to the barn. So we've got about a 1.5 to 2 acre food plot in here. And if you look over my shoulder right there, I put a muddy box blind in, and I planted this whole thing in corn this year. So I've got some strips around the edges that I'm going to fill in later this year with some clover. But you know, it's one of those phenomenal spots I think a lot of people would overlook. And my goal is this is going to be primarily a late season spot for me. I probably will not give this a lot of pressure until late season, but I do know that a lot of deer will come off this hill and have been feeding in all of those destination ag fields you can see up over my shoulder across the road. In the wintertime, I saw a lot of them coming down off the hill. So my hope is I can pull them into this food plot before they start heading that way. So anyhow, I'm going to head back up the hill up into the main part of the property. So basically we have two separate parcels here. The lower piece is 26 acres, the top piece is 74 acres, and they're kitty corner to each other. So the majority of the hunting is on the top of the hill, and I'm gonna head up that way and I'll give you guys a quick look once we get up there. We are up top now, which is the main part of the property. So we've got, again, about 76 acres up here. And if you can see over my shoulder, I've got about a 2 acre soybean plot that I just put in here a few weeks ago. We had wheat that was planted and just harvested about a month ago. And I wanted to put a late season spot directly at the top of the road where it breaks up on top of the hill so that I can slide in and out of this road really quickly, really easily without any disturbance for late season. So I think I can probably pull a lot of the deer from the neighborhood into this food plot and hopefully get away with it without disturbing too many things, just because I don't have to walk through the fields or expose myself too much. So one of the key things that I had as a requirement when it was time to start looking for my own farm is I had to have the food on top. That was priority number one for me. Priority number two was I had to have access from the east side of the farm. I would have preferred to have had access from multiple directions, but I had to compromise a little bit on this one, and I was able to get the east access, which was the most important aspect for me, because here in the Midwest, our predominant winds are west, southwest. You might get some south winds. Anything from that west type of a direction, you can absolutely get away with your access, and this place is set up really, really well for that. So again, late season food plot right when you start to break over the hill, and I've got a number of other food plots in the fingers of this field that go into the different timber sections that I'm going to take you guys through here in the next few minutes. But the idea, this one right here at the very top of the hill was going to be set up exclusively for late season so I can slide in and out of here without disturbing anything. Well, I'm up here in the third food plot, and one of the other things that was important to me when you get a farm that is set up with east access, sometimes it's really hard to find a spot that you can hunt with an east wind. So that is exactly what this food plot is set up for. So it is in the far northeast corner of the property, and directly below this plot, I've got a nice east facing south hillside with a number of fingers that kind of roll down through the timber. It's all early succession growth down in there with high stem count. What that means is it's great bedding cover for deer. And I basically came in here and frost seeded all of this when the wheat was still standing last winter, and came up and stuck a box blind in, which is on the west side of the food plot. And there's a little draw right behind this. The deer don't seem to be down in there very often. And the plan was, I think I can hunt this on an east wind, you know, a northeast to an east, maybe even a little bit of a southeast wind, and probably get away with being in here and not hopefully bust too many deer in here. So I don't know that I'll hunt this place too often, but this will be my backup spot when we have an east wind. And I've gotten a number of decent deer pictures in here. They're definitely using it. So, you know, it'll be that kind of backup spot when you get those east winds that tend to show up after a front comes through. So anyhow, we are going to head over to the 4th plot, and I'll give you guys an update on that one as well. So I just got up here to the 4th food plot, and as you guys can see, I've got another box blind in here. And this is another spot I just came in the wintertime when there was still snow on the ground, and I frost seeded clover into the standing wheat. And it came out beautiful. Had a little bit of grass in here, so I sprayed it with Cleth. If you guys are familiar with that, it's a chemical that kills only grass. It will not kill your clover. So my hope is next few weeks, it'll knock this grass back a little bit. I'll probably have a couple of bald patches in it that I'll come in and I'll back overseed it again and come back over it. Probably last week of August or so. And by the time deer season gets here, this place should be looking just absolutely phenomenal. So this farm, really, to my knowledge, I don't think it had any food plots or anything like that before I bought it. It definitely was hunted. I believe there was a number of deer taken off of the farm. Through my network and through the network of actually a couple of folks that are part of Bow Hunt or Die, we know several of the people that hunt on the properties that abut this farm. And we've been pretty fortunate to know that, you know, there has been a pretty good big deer history. And I have not gotten any big deer pictures as of right now, but there are a lot of deer in here. And I've definitely gotten pictures of a lot of them. So this food plot specifically has definitely been kind of one of the focal points of the property for the deer. And I'm hopeful, you know, when the deer start changing their core areas, when they start shedding velvet, we should hopefully start to see a few deer show up in this food plot, and a few of the others as well. So I am going to head down the hill right into the middle of the property and show you the last of the food plots. And we'll give you guys another update once I get there. I'm up here at the 5th and final food plot, and this is one of my very favorite places on the entire farm. So this is a spot where I do have a pipeline easement that goes right through the middle of the property. If you guys look over my shoulder here, as that goes down over the hill, when they put the pipeline in on that easement, they planted it all in switchgrass, and this was a number of years ago, and it's all late stage mature switchgrass at this point. It has a lot of shrubs, a lot of trees mixed into it, and it's just phenomenal bedding cover for deer. When I came in and I first started scouting the property last winter, there was just a lot of deer activity, and I knew with food on top, I should be able to slide in and out of this spot pretty easily without getting busted, without educating these deer. So that's exactly what I did. I came in, I put the food plot in, I put the box blind in, I broadcast clover right into the standing wheat that was planted here last winter. And when they pulled the wheat out, I now have a beautiful clover plot here. So again, I sprayed this one with Cleth yesterday. There is a bit of grass. I will probably have a couple of bald patches in it, but next few weeks I'll come back in here and top seed it with some additional clover seed, and it should look pretty phenomenal and be set up for season. So kind of the strategy, guys, I have these 3 food plots on these fingers, and I will hunt those early and mid-season. And then after early and mid-season, I'd say maybe after the first week of December, I will not go back into these parts of the farm. I will back out and I will wait for cold weather. I will hunt that bean plot that's at the top of the hill, or the corn plot that's down right behind the barn. And the goal is let the deer use all of this as a safe zone where they can come up, they can eat the food, the late season food that I've put in. And if we do that and we don't put pressure on those deer, we should get a crack at, or at least see a few of the better deer that are on the farm at that point. So again, I don't have any mega giants in here, but this farm is definitely in an area where a lot of big deer have been killed in years prior. I do think this farm probably had a touch of EHD go through it a couple of years ago. I've talked to a couple of the neighbors, and a number of big deer have been found dead over the past couple of years, but I do have what I think looks like a rebounding population, a lot of 2- and 3-year-olds in here, a couple of 4-year-olds, and also these river valley farms, where the first bluff that comes up off the river valley, there are a tremendous amount of deer that are down in that bottom, in that river bottom right now this time of year. And as those crops come out, as the soybeans start to drop their leaves, a lot of those deer will push up into the timber on that first bluff wall, which is exactly what this property is. So my hope is, you know, beginning of September, as the velvet starts to peel off these deer, we should see a few mature bucks start to relocate in here, and I'm looking forward to that. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch today. We're super thrilled about it. You know, my hope is we should have some great content to share with you, some great hunts, share with you guys, and also to share with my kids. And, you know, I've done the public land thing. I've done the knock-and door thing. I've done, you know, hunting leases. I've done all of it for years and years and years. And, you know, for us to have finally had an opportunity to buy our own piece of dirt, it seems like a dream come true. And, you know, I have almost as much fun with the process of getting everything set up as I will actually hunting the thing, I think. So we're pretty excited about it, and hopefully we'll have some great hunts to share with you guys this year. So thanks for watching, guys. Bow Hunt or Die.